The last message my brother ever sent me was a selfie of him laughing, coffee in hand, saying, "See you tomorrow, little sis." The next morning, Mom said he was gone. No details. No accident report. Just those two words, "He's gone." The way she said it chilled me. Her face didn't crumble. Her hands didn't shake. She just stood at the kitchen counter, stirring sugar into her tea as if the world hadn't just ended. They said it happened on the highway, late at night. Single car crash, closed casket. But I couldn't understand how everything about my brother, the warmth, the noise, the constant chaos, could vanish so quietly. At the funeral, people whispered more than they cried. I remember leaning over the coffin, touching the cold wood, and feeling like I was talking to a stranger. There was no photo board, no personal items, just a plain box and Mom sitting rigid beside it. Afterward, she told me to stop asking questions. "Some things hurt more when you know too much," she said. But grief doesn't stay silent. It mutates, it claws. It keeps you awake at 3 in the morning, replaying everything you missed. I started noticing things that didn't fit. Mom changed her phone password. His room was cleared out overnight. Every poster, every book, gone. She said it was too painful to keep his things around, but she didn't even let me say goodbye to his guitar, the one he promised I'd inherit if anything ever happened. Then there was the bank notification that came to my phone instead of hers. His streaming subscription renewed. 2 weeks after the funeral, I told myself it was automatic. I told myself ghosts can live in data, but the knot in my stomach tightened. One night, I went into her room while she was asleep. Her purse was on the dresser. Inside, I found a folded paper, his birth certificate, his driver's license, both cut in half. On the back, she'd written a date that didn't match the accident report. That's when I started dreaming about him. Standing in the doorway saying my name, half smiling, half afraid. Mom said it was grief, nothing more. "Your brain's trying to keep him alive," she whispered. But the dreams kept getting clearer, until I could swear I smelled his cologne. The night before it happened, the house felt wrong, too quiet. Mom was on the phone in the kitchen, whispering in that low, urgent tone she used when she didn't want me to listen. I caught one sentence as I walked by. "She's starting to ask questions again." When she saw me, she hung up, smiled, said she was ordering groceries. That's when I knew something was deeply off, because the next morning, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. No contact photo, just one message, "It's me. Don't tell Mom." My heart stopped. I read it again and again, every nerve in my body burning. The punctuation, the rhythm, even the way he used to shorten words. It was him. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred, waiting for another text that didn't come. For a moment I told myself maybe it was a cruel joke, some hacker or scammer. But when I clicked the profile, the number was one I recognized. His old prepaid phone he'd lost months before he died. I dropped the phone. Mom's voice came from behind me, calm, too calm. "Who are you texting?" I turned. She was standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable, her hand still holding a damp dish towel. I didn't answer. She smiled, softly, almost kindly, and said, "Sweetheart, you need to let him go." But I couldn't, because he wasn't gone. He'd just texted me. It's been 3 weeks since that message. 3 weeks since my brother's name lit up my screen like a ghost refusing to stay buried. At first, I thought I imagined it, some twisted trick of grief. But then, every time I tried to ask Mom about it, she'd shut me down with that same flat look. "You're not sleeping enough. You need to focus on work. He's gone, honey. You have to stop pretending." Her words felt rehearsed, like she'd said them 100 times in front of a mirror before delivering them to me. The house, once loud and chaotic, now felt like a museum, too quiet, too clean. Every sign of my brother's existence had been scrubbed out. His shoes by the door, the dent on the couch where he always sat, the stupid note he taped to the fridge that said, "Save me the last slice." Fun, but grief has a sound. It hums under the silence, echoes through walls, vibrates inside your bones until you can't tell if it's real or if you're falling apart. I started hearing things, small things, the creak of his door, the sound of footsteps upstairs even when Mom and I were both in the kitchen. Once I could have sworn I heard his laugh through the vent, short, sharp, unmistakable. I ran to Mom's room, breathless. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" "His voice. I swear I heard." Her face hardened. "Stop it, that's all she said." 2 words, cold and final, like a knife pressed against my throat. After that, she started watching me, subtly at first. Her eyes would follow me when I moved through the house. She'd stand in the hallway a moment too long after I went into my room. She started locking her office door, keeping her phone with her even when she went to shower. I stopped sleeping. Every night I'd scroll through old messages from him, our inside jokes, his terrible memes, the way he'd always say "night, kiddo," before logging off. I'd read them until my eyes burned, hoping maybe the next time I blinked, I'd wake up in the world where he was still alive. But instead, every morning I woke to Mom's eyes, calm, measured, unreadable. One night I broke. I told her I wanted to see his accident report, the police file, anything that proved what she said was true. She sighed like I was a child asking about Santa again. "Why would you torture yourself with that?" she said. "You think seeing his name on a piece of paper will bring him back?" I didn't answer. She got up, poured herself a glass of wine, and said quietly, "Sometimes lies are mercy." That sentence stuck with me. It still does. After that, she changed the Wi-Fi password. My calls started dropping. My texts would show as delivered but not read. My laptop stopped connecting to certain sites. especially ones with public records. I didn't tell her I noticed. Instead, I started writing everything down. Dates, times, the exact words she used when she talked about him. And something strange happened. Every time she told the story, it changed just a little. First, she said he crashed on the highway coming home from work. Then, it was, he'd been driving to a friend's house. Later, he took the wrong turn, it was raining, the car skidded. But the weather report from that night? Clear skies, no rain. I asked her once if the police ever returned his phone. She froze for a second, just one heartbeat of silence, before saying, "It was destroyed in the crash." Except, I remembered her holding it 2 days after his funeral. She'd been sitting on her bed, staring at the screen, her thumb hovering like she couldn't decide whether to delete something or not. Now she denied it completely. The more I pushed, the more she turned distant, cold, like she was retreating behind glass. Eventually, she started treating me like the fragile one, hiding pills in my orange juice, telling me to rest more, suggesting therapy. I knew what she was doing. If she could convince everyone I was unstable, nobody would believe me if I said my brother was still alive. So I stopped talking. Stopped asking. Stopped reacting, but silence isn't surrender. It's survival, because every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed once. No message, no call, just a single vibration. And I knew he was still out there, watching, waiting, maybe even trying to come back. That night I couldn't sleep again. The house felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the pale light from the street sneaking through my curtains and painting faint bars across my wall. At 2:17 a.m., the phone buzzed again. One short vibration. My pulse jumped. I told myself not to look. I told myself it would only hurt. But I reached for it anyway, the same unknown number. This time there was a message. "It's me." "Don't tell Mom!" The room started spinning. My mouth went dry. I blinked, waiting for the text to disappear, but it stayed there, glowing against the darkness. I wanted to believe it was another glitch, some sick spammer, but then another message appeared. "You still have the hoodie I left in your car?" Nobody else knew about that. Not even Mom. I had stuffed that old black hoodie under the seat months before, the one he borrowed the night we went for ice cream and forgot to take back. My throat closed. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. "Who is this?" I typed. Seconds later, the reply, "I told you, it's me." I can't stay long. I felt the air leave my chest. The same clipped tone. The same way he skipped periods at the end of sentences. It was him. I called the number. It rang twice before it went dead. I tried again. Straight to voicemail, then another message. "Don't call. They'll trace it." I stared at those words for what felt like an hour. Every piece of me screamed to run to Mom's room and shove the phone in her face. But another part, the smaller, trembling part, knew she'd just tell me it was in my head again. So instead, I whispered to the screen, "Where are you?" The typing bubble blinked on, then off, then on again. Finally it appeared. "Not safe. I need you to remember the cabin." The cabin, our grandparents' old lake house 2 hours away, where we spent summers fishing, playing cards, sneaking out past curfew. But that place had been locked up for years. Mom said it was too painful to go back after the divorce. My mind raced. Was he hiding there? Had he never left at all? I texted back, "Are you hurt?" He didn't answer. I waited until morning, clutching the phone like a lifeline. But by sunrise, the messages were gone. Deleted. Not by me. When I showed my call log, the number wasn't there. The texts had vanished like smoke. I thought maybe I had dreamed it, until I noticed the dirt. There were fresh, muddy footprints by my window. Just 2, leading away from the house toward the woods behind our backyard. The same tread pattern from the boots he used to wear, the ones with the uneven heel he scuffed when he walked. My stomach twisted. I ran outside in my pajamas, barefoot, ignoring the cold grass soaking my feet. The footprints faded a few yards in, but the air felt charged, almost alive. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong from the very beginning. When I came back inside, Mom was already in the kitchen pouring coffee. "You're up early," she said without turning around. I stared at her back. "Did you go outside last night?" I asked. She paused, the spoon clinking against the mug. "No, why?" I wanted to scream liar, but I stayed quiet. She turned, eyes narrowing. "You're pale," she said. "You're not eating again. Maybe we should see someone." I didn't answer. I just walked past her and locked myself in my room. That day, I found something else. In the attic, under an old blanket, there was a box labeled garage stuff. Inside, my brother's phone, the same one she said was destroyed in the crash. The screen was cracked but not not shattered. I plugged it in, my heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. The screen lit up after a few seconds. His wallpaper, his old playlist, even the unread notifications. One text thread sat at the top. Mom. I opened it. There were only 2 messages. Mom, she doesn't need to know. Him. You said it was temporary. The timestamp? A week after the day he supposedly died. My legs gave out. I sat there on the attic floor shaking, the phone glowing in my hands. He was alive. And Mom had known all along. I didn't plan the confrontation. It just happened. Maybe it had been building since the funeral. Since every time she told me to let him go when some part of me already knew he wasn't gone. But holding that phone in my hands, the one she swore was destroyed, burned away the last of my hesitation. I stayed in my room until the sun dropped behind the trees. The whole house glowed amber, that unsettling hour when everything looks too calm. I could hear her downstairs, humming softly while chopping vegetables, the sound of a knife against the board steady and rhythmic. It made my skin crawl. I walked down the stairs quietly, every creak in the wood sounding like an alarm. She looked up, smiled, the same smile she always used when she wanted to appear gentle. Dinner's almost ready, she said. I placed the phone on the counter between us. You told me this was destroyed. Her hand froze midair. The knife clattered against the cutting board. For a full 3 seconds, she didn't breathe. Then very slowly, she said, "Where did you get that?" "In the attic." Her eyes flickered. Fear, anger, calculation, all in one heartbeat. She stepped closer. "You had no right to go through my things." "No," I said, "but you had no right to lie." She laughed, short and brittle. "Lie about what?" I opened the message thread, held it up so she could see the screen. "About this. These texts are from a week after his accident. You said he was dead." Her lips pressed together until they turned white. "You don't understand." "Then explain it." Silence. The clock on the wall ticked louder than anything. I could feel my pulse in my ears. Finally, she said, "He was in trouble." "What kind of trouble?" She looked past me, out the window, as if the story might be written somewhere in the dark yard. "He was working for people he shouldn't have, owed money. They came here looking for him once. That night he crashed. He didn't crash. He ran. And he begged me not to tell you." It sounded rehearsed, too smooth. "You expect me to believe he'd let you fake his death?" "He wanted a clean slate. Then why the texts? Why the messages at 2:17 every night?" She shook her head, voice breaking a little. "He promised he wouldn't contact you. He said it was safer if you thought he was gone." "Safer from who?" She didn't answer. The kitchen light flickered. Outside, the wind hit the house like a wave. She reached for the phone again, but I pulled it back. "Tell me the truth, Mom. All of it." Something inside her cracked. She slammed both hands on the counter. "You think I wanted this?" she shouted. "You think I wanted to bury my own son on paper while he hid like a coward? They told me if I didn't play along, we'd both end up in the ground." Her words echoed through the house. I just stared at her, the world tilting. "Who are they?" She pressed a hand to her forehead, breathing hard. "People you don't need to know. People who don't forget debts. He stole something from them. Money may be worse. They called me the night it happened. Said he was gone. Said if I wanted to live, I'd make it official." Tears slid down her face, but her eyes were cold. "So I did." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake the truth out of her. "You let me think he was dead. You watched me break apart and said nothing." Her voice softened, almost pleading. "If you knew he was alive, they'd find you too. You're my child. I was protecting you, protecting me." The word tasted sour. "You erased him," I whispered. "You didn't protect anyone. You made us ghosts." She reached for me then, but I stepped back. "You saw him, didn't you?" I said. "He's been here." Her pupils widened. That tiny flicker was all the confirmation I needed. I turned toward the stairs. "Where is he?" "Don't go up there," she said quickly, her voice trembling, but I was already moving. The hallway upstairs was dim except for the faint blue glow leaking from the end room, his room. I hadn't opened that door since the day she cleared it out. My hand shook as I touched the knob. "Please," she whispered from behind me. "Leave it closed." I opened it. The room wasn't empty anymore. There were clothes on the floor, a plate with half-eaten food, a blanket thrown across the bed. The air smelled like dust and soap and something else, his cologne. I turned slowly. "He's been staying here." She didn't deny it. She just sank against the wall, covering her face. "He came back 2 months ago," she said. They stopped looking. I thought it was over. "But he's not the same. He wanted to leave again, and when you started asking questions, he panicked." "Panicked?" I asked, "or planned something?" Her hands dropped. "He said he needed money. That if I didn't help, he'd tell you everything." I couldn't. She broke off, sobbing. I felt dizzy. The pieces were jagged, none of them fitting cleanly. "So what now? You keep hiding him forever?" Her eyes flashed with something sharp. "You think you can handle the truth, but you can't. He's not who you remember." "Then show me." She hesitated, then moved toward the closet. From behind a stack of boxes, she pulled out a metal key and pressed it into my palm. "The cabin, if you go there, you'll see for yourself." But once you do, there's no coming back to the way things were. I stared at the key, heavy and cold in my hand. The cabin. The same place he'd told me to remember. When I looked up again, she was staring at me with eyes that didn't look like my mother's anymore. "If you love your brother," she said quietly, "you'll forget this conversation ever happened." But it was already too late. The truth wasn't something I could unhear. That night I packed a bag. As I zipped it shut, I could hear her downstairs. On the phone again, whispering the same low, urgent tone I'd heard before. Only this time, I caught one clear sentence: "She's going to the cabin," and whoever was on the other end simply said, "Then it's time." The road to the cabin wound through miles of darkness. No streetlights, no houses, just trees crowding in on both sides, whispering in the wind like they knew what waited ahead. I kept replaying Mom's words. "If you go there, you'll see for yourself." By the time I reached the turnoff, fog had rolled in thick and heavy. The gravel crunched beneath the tires, and my headlights carved 2 tunnels through the mist. Then there it was, the cabin. Old, familiar, and wrong somehow. The windows glowed faintly, a thin line of light like an open secret. I parked, killed the engine, and just sat there for a moment. My heart beat loud in the silence. My fingers trembled around the key she gave me. I didn't know if I was about to find my brother, or something worse. The door creaked open easily as if it had been waiting. Inside, everything smelled of damp wood and smoke. A single lamp glowed on the table. And then I heard it, a cough. Soft but real. "Hello?" I whispered. Footsteps shuffled from the next room. Then he appeared. My brother, alive. For a heartbeat, I couldn't breathe. His face was thinner, his hair longer, eyes darker. But it was him. The same crooked smile, the same scar on his chin. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. I stepped forward, tears blurring my vision. "You're alive." He looked away. "You weren't supposed to know." The words sliced through me. "So it's true. Mom helped you fake it." He rubbed his hands together like he was trying to warm something that wasn't there. "She was trying to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" I demanded. "From the people you owed? From your own lies?" He flinched. "It's not that simple." "Then make it simple," I said. "I buried you, Daniel. I carried your picture to school every day for a year. Tell me why." He looked at me for a long time, something breaking behind his eyes. Then he sighed and sat down at the table. "I didn't owe them money," he said. "I owed them silence." "What does that even mean?" He hesitated. "Mom wasn't protecting me. I was protecting her." My blood went cold. "What?" "She used to work for them," he said, "before you were born. Some kind of deal? Money laundering? Fake accounts? I don't even know. When they started investigating, she tried to back out, but they said if she didn't keep quiet, they'd go after her family." "Her family?" I repeated numbly. "You," he nodded. "She sent me away to fix something, but when things went bad, they made her an offer. Declare me dead, vanish the trail, and they'd let her walk. So she did. She chose survival." I couldn't speak. The image of her, grieving mother, trembling hands, fractured completely. "Why didn't you come back?" I whispered. He laughed bitterly. "Come back to what? A life that wasn't mine anymore?" They were still watching. "And then she told me you believed it, that you thought I was gone. She said if I loved you, I'd stay gone too." Something inside me snapped. "So you both decided what I should know, what I should feel. You made me mourn a lie." "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I thought I was saving you from her world." "She is my world," I said. "Or she was." Outside, tires crunched on gravel. Headlights flashed through the thin curtains. He froze. "They followed you," he whispered. "What?" He darted to the window, peering out. "Mom must have told them you were coming. They can't let you leave with the truth." I could barely process it. "You mean she sent them?" He turned, eyes fierce. "She doesn't have a choice anymore." Before I could respond, the front door slammed open. 2 men stepped inside, dressed in black jackets, faces half hidden. One held a gun loosely at his side. "Daniel," the taller one said, "we warned you about contact." My brother stepped in front of me. "She has nothing to do with this," the man smirked. "Oh, she has everything to do with this now." Time slowed. The air felt electric. Daniel's hand found mine, squeezing hard, like the last tether between 2 worlds. Then, from outside, another voice. "Put the weapon down!" It was Mom, standing at the edge of the headlights, hands shaking but eyes blazing. The taller man laughed. "You're late, Margaret. We were just finishing up." She stepped forward, pointing something small and silver. Not a gun, but a recorder. "No," she said. "You're finished." The men froze. "I've been recording every call, every threat," she said. "The police are on their way. You so much as touch them and your whole network burns." I stared, unable to move. Mom looked like someone else. Not the trembling woman who lied, but someone who'd been fighting from the shadows all along. The men exchanged glances. Then one hissed, "You think that saves you?" "No," she said, voice steady. But it saves them. Sirens cut through the night, distant but growing louder. The men bolted for the back door, disappearing into the woods. Mom dropped the recorder, knees buckling. Daniel rushed to catch her. For a moment, everything was just noise. The sirens, the wind, my heartbeat. Then silence again. When she finally looked up, tears shimmered in her eyes. I thought I could protect you both, she said. But the only thing I did was destroy you. I knelt beside her. You tried, I whispered. And maybe that's enough. Daniel reached for my hand again. The three of us sat there on the cabin floor, broken pieces of the same story finally fitting together. Outside, blue lights flashed against the trees. Officers shouted, moving through the woods, chasing ghosts and criminals alike. But inside, something heavier was ending. When they took our statements hours later, I watched Mom as she spoke. Her voice trembled, but she didn't hide anymore. She told them everything. The debts, the fake death, the lies. She looked smaller by the end of it, but freer too. As dawn bled into the sky, Daniel turned to me. You hate me now? I shook my head. I hate what you did, but not who you are. He smiled faintly. Then maybe that's a start. When they drove him and Mom away for questioning, I stood outside the cabin and watched the sun climb over the horizon. The fog lifted slowly, revealing the road home, the one that had always been there, hidden beneath everything we thought we knew. Justice didn't feel clean. It didn't feel triumphant. It just felt real, raw, and necessary. And maybe that was enough, because in the end, the truth didn't save us. It exposed us. And sometimes that's the only way to be free. The morning after everything broke open, the house felt like a stranger. Every wall echoed with what had been said, what had been hidden, and what could never be taken back. I walked past the family photos, all those carefully framed smiles that now looked like evidence. It's strange how the truth doesn't free you right away. It stings first. It burns everything you thought was real before it starts to rebuild you. I kept hearing Mom's voice in my head. I thought I could protect you both. Maybe that's what love is to her. Control wrapped in good intentions. Maybe she thought the lies were lighter to carry than the truth. But standing there, in a home built on secrets, I realized something cruel. Love that cages you isn't love at all. It's fear wearing a softer face. I sat in Daniel's old room, the one she never let me touch. The smell of dust and forgotten things filled the air. There were still posters on the wall, old clothes in the closet, like time had refused to move forward. On the nightstand was a photo of us as kids, our faces sticky with ice cream, Mom laughing behind the camera. That photo used to make me smile. Now, I just wondered how many lies were already living inside that moment. When I think back to the night he texted me, "It's me, don't tell Mom," I realized that was the first real truth I'd been given in years. The message that cracked the illusion wide open. The beginning of everything. For weeks after, I couldn't stop replaying it all. The fake funeral, the grief that wasn't grief, the endless gaslighting that made me doubt my own memory. I thought I was crazy for feeling that something didn't add up. But maybe that was the first sign that I wasn't broken, just awake. The truth didn't come clean. It crawled out, piece by piece, each one dragging another lie with it. And now that it's here, the silence feels louder than ever. Mom's facing charges, obstruction, fraud, conspiracy, words I never thought I'd hear tied to her name. But even as I watched her in the courtroom, I couldn't see a monster. I saw a woman who tried too hard to hold everything together until she broke everything in the process. And Daniel? He's free now, technically. But freedom doesn't undo the years you spend pretending to be dead. It doesn't return the birthdays, the holidays, the version of yourself you buried just to keep breathing. He calls sometimes. We don't talk about what happened. We talk about small things. A new job, a movie he saw, the weather. We pretend to be normal siblings again, like we can rebuild on top of the ashes. Maybe we can't, but I still answer every time. Sometimes I drive past the old cabin. The police sealed it off for evidence, but the woods still look the same. Quiet, heavy, like they're keeping their own secrets now. That night, when Mom faced those men and chose truth over silence, something changed in all of us. For the first time, she wasn't lying. She wasn't controlling. She was just a mother, flawed, terrified, human. And maybe that's what scares me most. How thin the line is between love and manipulation, between protecting and destroying. I keep her recorder on my desk now, the one she used that night to trap her ghosts in sound. Sometimes I press play just to hear the beginning, her shaking voice saying, "This ends tonight." It reminds me that sometimes justice doesn't look like punishment. It looks like finally saying the truth out loud, even when it costs you everything. I've started writing too, not for revenge, for understanding, to see what happens when you strip away every lie and stare at what's left. And what's left isn't pretty. It's grief and guilt and a strange kind of love that refuses to die, even when it should. The hardest part is realizing that some secrets don't get buried because they're evil. They get buried because people can't live with them in the light. And my family, we were just a burial ground wearing Sunday smiles. If you ask me now whether I've forgiven her, I don't know. Forgiveness feels too small for what she did, and too heavy to carry for what she lost. But I do know this. I'm done mistaking silence for peace. I'm done calling control love. Because love that hides you isn't love. Love that lies to you, that reshapes your reality so you'll never ask questions. That's not protection. That's possession. And when the truth finally claws its way out of the dark, it doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to set you free, even if it rips you apart first. I used to think my brother died. Now I know the only thing that really died back then was the version of me who believed everything she was told. The one who thought families always tell the truth. The one who thought love couldn't hurt you, and maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting the past, but refusing to let it own you anymore. So I keep the photo of us on my nightstand again. Same smiles, same summer light. But now, when I look at it, I don't see a lie. I see survival. I see the beginning of a story that finally belongs to me. Because some families bury secrets deeper than graves. But some daughters learn how to dig.